1. Me and Mom don't talk anymore. She was always hard to get along with, but the past year or so has been unmanageable. I'm not sure exactly what is going on. I suspect mental illness, but can't confirm it. She refuses any help, and I just had to disconnect. Mom had a friend that always asked me for favors. She'd get Mom to text me while I was at work and tell, not ask, me to stop at Starbucks, which was nearly an hour out of my way, and spend my money on buying her coffee. She'd offer my grown-ass $5 to $7 to clean her car for her. She'd ask my parents to move my grown-ass to the couch and let her sleep in my bed, the mattress I paid for when I lived at home. Time went on, and I changed jobs a lot. At one point, I worked at Dollar General, and this woman found out I worked there and just became ridiculous. The first time she came in, she stood at the door and asked me to find stuff for her. I did it exactly once, and she tried to send me back to get a different variety of the item. I just told her what aisle it was on and basically stared at her until she went to look. She came in fairly often and would just buy random crap while asking me scores of questions about items that we carried that I had no way of answering. She'd always pay in painfully extra ways. I never minded someone wanting to put some of it on one card and the rest on another. I know sometimes you're in a weird spot, but she did that as a matter of course. My coworkers finally started letting me go on break when she showed up, and I'd hide and chill at least until she checked out and left. That's all backstory. Currently, I work in a non-public facing role in a school-like facility. It's a rehabilitation setting for mentally handicapped adults. That is to say, there's absolutely no reason for this woman to have swung by here. Now, we do allow and encourage visitors, but we mean visitors for clients, not staff. This fucking woman apparently bumbled around the front desk for a bit before someone asked her what she needed. She asked where I was, and my well-meaning coworker pointed her in my direction. She walked into my room and just started jabbering at me. I think she must have been on something because it was this, endless run-on sentence with no end. Everything she said is kind of a fog, but it just rattled off like so many little demands. She wanted me to help her move some furniture around, and she wanted to give me $10 to mow her very large yard. She wanted me to give my mom some money, since I'm doing so well. Y'all, I drive a 20-year-old car. She mentioned something about gas money, something about me needing a haircut. She's worked at a salon. Maybe she wanted me to pay her to cut my hair? If I had to sum it up, it was a lot of man chores and IT. She made several other demands, some of which are harder to convey without context, and I eventually just kind of physically walked her to the door, and just kind of lied and said she couldn't be here. I then talked to my bosses and got them on board. I'm just absolutely reeling. 2. This just happened at the store where I work. I did not at any time engage with this person. I just sort of overheard most of it, then heard about it from those who were involved. Before we begin, I know there will be people who end up hearing this, thinking that I made this up. I wish I could say that I did. Warning, some of the dialogue in this story can be considered highly offensive, and I apologize in advance. I work at a store that sells electronics and stationery, and as today was the start of the new flyer, I spent most of the day running around trying to make sure that the prices for a product reflected the changeover. That's basically what I was doing throughout the course of what happened, with some exceptions. Also, because it does come up, I'm a key holder. While I was scanning signs in another aisle, I heard a page through the headset radios that a woman needed help buying a laptop, which is where the tech guy enters the story. The first real indication that Karen was going to be a problem happened after she told him that she was looking for a laptop and wasn't sure which one would suit her needs. when he tried to guide her to a specific laptop that he had in mind and she refused. "How about you start walking and I'll follow you? You don't get to tell me where I'm supposed to go." Eventually, he took her to a section of the store where we had Chromebook laptops on display. I wasn't paying that much attention to what was being said after that until I heard her ask him a truly bizarre question. "Okay, so this laptop is $250. Do you think I would be able to live off $250 for the rest of the month?" Keep in mind this is the 11th of October, so we're only just getting to the middle of the month. I don't know." "Why not? How could you not know?" "Because I don't know you well enough to make that kind of assumption." "Well, I can just tell by looking at you that you wouldn't be able to live off $250 in a single month. So do you think that I would?" He still refuses to answer, and after a bit more back and forth, the subject changes. I continue working, trying to mind my own business, but I still manage to catch something that kind of makes me stop. I'm not sure what the context of the comment was, and even after asking him, I still don't really get it. But she said something about him. She used the general you term, being a slave to something, which made me start to listen in again, but I don't know how it connected with what she said next. "So God made 4 seasons, but we split those into 12. Do you know why? To hurt him. That's why. And it was those Jews." I didn't hear the rest of what she said, because I was sincerely floored by what she seemed to be insinuating. To his credit, Tech Guy refused to engage, or give an opinion any which way. We did exchange a look between each other when Karen wasn't looking, and I could just tell by that alone that he was trying so very hard to keep it together. He had only been working at that store for about 3 months now, and while we don't normally chat very often, I know he's a pretty chill guy. After a few minutes, Karen, I guess, gave up, because she kind of sighed in a dismissive tone. "So I think I've decided to get this laptop, so go get it for me." At this point, I kind of wanted to know what this woman's deal was, in particular, the part about her calling him a slave. So when he went to page for a manager, I piped up that I was available, and took him to our lockup area to pick up the laptop that she wanted to buy. What the fuck is up with this woman? Did she call you a slave? No, but I don't think she actually understood what she was talking about. She keeps jumping topics, but I think I'm going to take the laptop to one of the cash registers and get one of the cashiers to cash her out. So as he's leaving the lockup area, I, deciding to be helpful, called the cashier over the radio to let her know what was going on, and that the laptop should be reaching her shortly. But after a minute, she paged me back and said, "I don't think that's happening." When I get back out onto the floor to investigate, I saw him with his back to me and the lady grilling into him, with the laptop in between them. I guess she didn't appreciate him telling her to go meet the cashier at the register. Figuring this guy needs saving, I tried to page for another worker to take over for him, specifically a manager, just so that he could escape. That's when the GM came over the speaker. Apparently, Karen had been here before in this store, though it must have been either when I was off shift or on break, because this was the first time I had even heard of her before. "Don't bother. She's not all there, and she won't talk to anyone wearing a mask," said the GM. Full disclosure, ever since the 2020 virus, I've been masking up, double masking actually, because even though most people don't view it as that big an issue anymore, I refuse to take any chances, and there are a few people who work with me who agree. Unfortunately, the supervisor, who was also working in the electronics section, is of the same mindset, so neither he nor I could jump in to assist. At least, not without making things worse. But I guess she didn't like the way he was cashing her out, because the next time I saw her, about 5 minutes later, GM was cashing her out on another register. Tech Guy was safely behind cash, sorting through some of the signs that were printed. When I talked to him at this point, he was fairly convinced that the stuff she had been saying was an attempt to rile him up, or at least to give her an excuse to kick off about whatever he had said in response to her questions. But he didn't play her game. He did ask me if there was a rule that let us refuse service to specific customers, especially ones with Karen's disposition. But as we're chatting, Karen gets animated with the GM, accusing her of improperly counting her bills. She was paying with mostly tens, apparently. Then she found an issue with the price the cash register was showing for her purchase, saying something about it not being right, and that it was in response to some theory that she had been telling the GM all about. At one point, while Karen was rifling through her bag for something, GM kinda wandered over to where I was standing with the tech guy. "Honestly, I'm about ready to process a refund and tell her she can't come back." "It's your call," I say, "but if you do, I'm behind you 100%. She's saying that the registers are wrong and that we're not charging her enough for the laptop, even after I pulled out a calculator and showed her the math. She says I'm too dependent on the computers to tell that she's right. You can't tell this woman she's wrong, she just doesn't get it." After that, GM went back to Karen, who continued to have a problem with the price she had paid. Finally, she held out a roll of coins that turned out to be nickels, and a couple of other coins before showing them one by one to the GM, who says that he won't accept them, though. Karen then leaves in a huff, telling us to give the coins to the Bank of Canada instead. GM put them into a plastic baggie, then sent a general message out to all staff, instructing everyone to only refund what the receipt says Karen is entitled to. Not what she says she's entitled to. Apparently Karen also has a habit of buying from us and returning the item sometime later within the return window, and that she can take the baggie with the money with her. Then she went out for a much-needed smoke break. I don't know if my GM is planning to ban Karen. I should hope so, if this isn't the first time she's pulled this. But from the way she explained it to me later, she fully expects her to at least attempt to return the laptop. 3. I live in a townhouse community. The cluster of buildings I live in has an open common area with grass and a few small trees. A couple of women that are joined at the hip have been treating that common area as their own off-leash dog park. Our city has strict leash laws, and it is against the rules of the community to have your dogs off-leash. I have a reactive rescue. I fully acknowledge that her reactivity is my problem and no one else's. We get up by 4 a.m. to take a walk in order to avoid other residents having their dogs out. When my dog needs to go out the rest of the day, we pause at our gate to make sure the coast is clear and wait if it isn't. I always tell whomever is out there not to rush, we will wait. I've been working with my girl and got her to the point that she wasn't reactive towards those neighbors' dogs, as long as they stayed at their end of the open area. Well, a few days ago, those dogs were about halfway to my end. I thought it would be okay and commenced taking my dog to do her business. We get off our deck and start going to a different grass area, when all of a sudden those other dogs come charging. I yell at them to go home. I think my yelling shocked them. They stopped just short of us. I was pretty shaken, take my dog to get her business done, and watch carefully that the other dogs were no longer in the area. And we get back inside. And now years of working my dog just went down the toilet. I got myself calmed down. I suffer from extreme anxiety. Texted my husband and son. They advised to call animal control, so I did. While animal control is talking to the neighbors, one of them starts screaming across the complex for me to come outside. No. I will not acquiesce to someone screaming at me. After animal control leaves, the screaming comes to my gate and tries to demand I come outside. My other son says no. She tries to say the dogs just wanted to play, and I should not have called animal control. I guess I was supposed to try to find out what their motivation was prior to panicking. One did have its hackles up. I do see that I may be the asshole for calling animal control, but again, extreme anxiety, and people that know they are breaking laws and rules, are not generally the most open to being told to keep their dogs under control. It is not my job to tell other people that the rules apply to them too. So anyway, they are now attempting to turn all the neighbors against me. I would move, but I don't want to. shouldn't have to and cannot afford to. After reading Reddit, entitled people are literally everywhere, so it would be changing one bad place for another. 4. They finally moved out, but it just blows my mind thinking back on just how entitled these people were. We bought a house with a shared driveway, and for 2 years could not get the neighbors to stop blocking it. For context, there's plenty of room to park without blocking, they just didn't want to pull far enough over to leave room for us to get around. We tried to be neighborly and start by asking nicely for them to move so we could leave. Over the 2 years, that escalated to leaving a note asking them to stop blocking, to putting up a sign, to contacting their landlord, even going as far as widening our side of the driveway. In an attempt to get around, they still blocked. They were so childish about the whole thing, wouldn't address us, but would go around telling their friends and other neighbors, the ones that don't know us because all the ones we know don't like them either, that we're Karens, they can't use the driveway because of us. They said that we make a big deal, they're not blocking, they're just getting dropped off, and we weren't even trying to leave anyways. Except they weren't just getting dropped off, they would block it for hours, up to 3 cars deep at times. We had to honk to get in on multiple occasions. All we asked was for them to stop parking in the middle and pull off to their own side. We do the same thing, it's not like we're asking them to do something special. They even have more parking spots on their side than we do. A lot of time they'd be too lazy to even pull into the driveway, and would just park on the street blocking it. Keep in mind, actual parking spots are available both to the left and right of the driveway. I also didn't care if they blocked it to do a quick drop-off and pick-up, or if they genuinely had a reason to block it, services, utilities, moving, but they rarely did. It was like rules that applied to us didn't apply to them. We couldn't ask them to stop blocking it, but they could bang on our door shouting about towing a random truck parked on the public street in front of their house because they assumed it was ours. Where was that energy when they would block the driveway and simultaneously take all the street parking in front of our house? I didn't care if they parked in front of our house, but if you're going to block the driveway, at least leave somewhere for us to park. It's also an entitled parent situation, too. They said we called the cops on their kids because a ball rolled into our yard, and we were just prejudiced. They did not watch their kids and did not care what they did. Kids would be running all through our front and backyard, around our garage and vehicles, and even up onto our porch. We came home to a whole group of kids leaning on my husband's car, and when he knocked on the door to talk to the parents, heard them, but they didn't answer the door. Kids would straight up throw rocks at our house and vehicles. 2 unsupervised 4-year-olds were in our yard moving the landscaping rocks onto the sidewalk. The 2 teen boys would pull up chairs behind our garage, and when we moved them, they had the audacity to move them back. Kids would throw trash into our yard, and then spitefully did it again after we reported them. Kids would have loud, literally yelling, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. basketball games in the street that would keep me up on top of the loud music we already had to deal with. I got called racist when I finally made a noise complaint after it happened multiple nights in a row. Then I still had to make more complaints after because they continued doing it. Oh, they're just kids. Yeah, kids will be kids, but at some point, you actually have to parent them. If something happens frequently enough to be a nuisance, I'm going to do something about it regardless of race. I reported a white neighbor for their dog always running loose. They stopped, so guess what I stopped too. I'm not trying to have a personal problem, I'm trying to solve a problem. I gave them over a year before I got fed up and started calling non-emergency. I don't exactly get how that comes off as racist Karen. 5. It was the end of 7th grade, so all the middle schoolers, 6th to 8th grade, got a final field trip to an amusement park called Dally Fair. We all were told by the end of the year by our teachers and were really excited about this field trip, 'cause who wouldn't want to spend a whole day at an amusement park? Except those who lost the privilege to go by being naughty or getting bad grades, etc. So everyone loads onto the buses, and off we go to Dally Fair. My friends and I are seated together, chatting back and forth about stuff. I think about what everyone will be doing over the summer. Jenna, my most cheerful friend, who's always happy, turns to me and says, "So, Dragon Crystal, what are you planning on doing over the summer?" "Oh, stay home and be bored all summer as per usual, 'cause, my parents rarely want to take us anywhere, since they'd rather go fishing with our relatives or by themselves." "Oh, that's too bad. Hey, maybe we can find time where all of us can hang out and have fun together before 8th grade starts." Carla and Donna agree that sounds like fun. We're abruptly interrupted when the teacher gives us a heads up that we're arriving, which, ironically, everyone on the bus shouts, "Dally Fair!" Always a fun thing to say, even for someone as shy and introverted as myself. We unload from the bus and are told to group up with a few friends or students we know before we head. After the teachers lead us inside and do a final head count, we're allowed to go and have fun, while the teachers hang out near the front gate in case we need anything. We just head over there to find them. So myself, Jenna, Carla, and Donna head off to find some of our favorite roller coasters and ride them, and go on other rides until we bump into my gothic and anime-loving friend Misa and her group. We decide to form into one group and go on a few more rides together, just having a major blast, until Jenna, Carla, and Donna want to go on a ride that involves spinning, or just moving very, very fast. Which I just happen to hate, 'cause I can get motion sickness easily, and will stumble around like a drunk while feeling very, very nauseous for a while. Misa was also like that, and asked if I would go on Steel Venom with her instead, which was just a couple of rides over. I agree, and we let Jenna and the others know to meet us over there afterwards, and we agreed on it. Misa and I head over and got in line for the ride. We got on and had a blast. As the ride was ending, I spotted Jenna and the others waiting. We get off, regroup, and head off to other rides to continue the day. A few hours later, our school was called over the intercom to head to the front gate fountain. We head over there where the teachers do another head count before leading us outside to eat lunch. We have lunch, then head back inside to go on more rides. Luckily, those that didn't cause us to lose our lunch before cooling off for a bit in the water park for a while. Misa and I were getting bored, and since it was close to the end of the day, we headed to go on a few more roller coasters before it was time to go. And because by now the food had settled, so we wouldn't lose it while on the ride. Now comes the part where the kinkiness starts. We had just gotten off our final water ride. Misa noticed a hidden roller coaster she'd never noticed before and wanted to ride it. I tell her I rode on it with my mom, along with a few siblings, and it has a really steep drop to start the ride, which really made her want to ride it, and she dragged me off to ride it with her because I'm more experienced with the ride. As we get into line and we're waiting our turn, we notice a couple, maybe high school or college age, in front of us, not really moving and just talking really intimately, while not paying much attention to the gap that's opening up in front of them. I'm not paying much attention to them, and just want to get on the ride before it's time to leave. So I say to them, "Can you keep going? The people ahead have already left." The boyfriend seems to notice and gently moves Kinky Girl along, until the line stops again, which Kinky Girl starts mentioning that she can't wait to feel the intense vibrating on her, which Misa and I exchange glances like WTF over. The boyfriend seems slightly embarrassed and tells her, "Keep it down a bit, there's kids around." "What? It's not like they know what we're talking about," she says as she rolls her eyes at us. Misa lifts an eyebrow. "We're in middle school, and we know what you're talking about." The boyfriend just quiets down and moves along with the rest of the line, while Kinky Girl continues getting more and more kinky about other things they should do later. As they're in earshot of the ride operator, Kinky Girl turns to the boyfriend and starts making out with him on the spot. I'm thinking, WTF, ugh, really, right here and now? Couldn't have waited until leaving Dally Fair? I had hoped the ride operators would notice, but they were busy checking the seatbelts, which I almost wanted to just turn around and leave at this point. Boyfriend, probably now even more embarrassed that we have to witness this, tried to stop Kinky Girl, but she ignored him, and then starts reaching into more private places. I'm feeling super awkward now, and it felt like the ride operators were taking forever to come back. I just wanted to climb over the rail and bolt away from the place. But Misa, who's been patiently waiting behind me and basically blocking my path, finally says loudly, "Hey bitch, if you're not planning on riding the ride, then move, 'cause my friend and I want to get on." This gets Kinky Girl's attention, as she glares daggers at Misa and me. I'm starting to get scared now and just push myself against the rail, letting Misa step in front of me now. Kinky Girl looked like she wanted to slap Misa for ruining her makeout session with Boyfriend. She and Misa glare angrily at one another, not breaking eye contact, while the Boyfriend and I were really embarrassed. "Well, are you gonna move or just stand there with your hands down his pants?" I am staring off in the direction of the operator and not paying attention, but I recall seeing Kinky Girl starting to raise her hand up as if to physically hit Misa, only to notice the ride operator saying, "Hey, no fighting. If you're gonna fight, I'm gonna have security escort you away from here so the other riders can ride in peace." I guess one of the other riders must have pointed out what was happening, or they turned around and saw. But Boyfriend, not wanting things to escalate more, tells Kinky Girl, Hey, stop. Let's just go, okay?" Before apologizing to us and blocking Kinky Girl so she didn't try to swing at myself or Misa, since she was still glaring at both of us. After they left, the ride operators apologized for not noticing Kinky Girl's behavior and allowed us to get on the open seats that Kinky Girl and Boyfriend could have sat in. The ride started, and we completely got lost in the ride. Then, as we were heading back to Jenna and the rest of our group, we spot Kinky Girl and Boyfriend talking off to the side. She starts glaring at us again before storming off angrily to a different part of the park. Jenna's confused. "What's her problem?" "Can't keep her hands to herself," says Misa. We rode a few more rides before it was time to head back to school, and as we were heading to the front gate fountain, we hear off to the side a lady asking, "Well, that's highly inappropriate to be doing out in public. Have you no manners? There's kids all around you." Followed by, "Fuck off, bitch. Let me and my boyfriend enjoy ourselves." Along with other colorful words, and maybe even a few, "You and your man probably bang all the time at home, so mind your own business, you slut." Oh my. Don't know what happened next, but we did see security walking by, so someone got escorted out, and I get the feeling it was Kinky Girl and Boyfriend. I kind of feel bad for the Boyfriend, because he really seemed to just want to have fun there and not get in her pants. Kinky didn't feel the same way, I suppose. Oh well, at least my classmates and I had a lot of fun. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 138. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do slap the like button around a little bit. And if you'd like to hear the videos a little bit early, then you can support me through my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You don't often get a bargain like that, do you? Apart from YouTube, which is generally free. Okay, so let's see. Oh yes, you can also buy yourself some Hellfreezer merchandise, which is linked in the description. The merchandise shelf thing changed now, so you've got to look in the description for it. And you can also make donations during streams or videos like this one. And while you don't have to, it helps me get through these tough times. Alright. Now, I don't think there's any other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? No, wait, that wasn't it. Okay, let's keep it semi-seasonal. This time of year, we all stuff our face with chocolate and things. So, chocolate. Any old chocolate will do, or you need a specific brand. Now, I can eat any chocolate, but I very much prefer Cadbury's. I think that is, in my opinion, that is the yummiest one, it's the tastiest one. It's got the right balance of flavors for me, and lots of varieties. Of course, I'm a very big fan of white chocolate, and I do find that even cheap white chocolate, like the local Lidl sell like a cheap bar, it's like 40, 50 pence, whatever it is, of just white chocolate. And it's nice. I've had nicer, but it's nice. So, that's my feelings on chocolate. I like it. It's good to shove in my face. I like some more than others. So, why don't you let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now and record more stories. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.